Welcome to the Aro Benaiah show. Today I'm joined by David Campbell, an empty nest dad, musician, and podcaster who call himself a collector of people. David hosts multiple podcasts, edits and support others in the industry, and believe deeply in the powers of stories, connection, and community. David, it's an honor to have you on the show.
It's amazing to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to come and chat.
So, David, how was it like growing up for you?
Great. I have a sister and my parents, and we grew up here in Canada. Loved it. Had a great childhood. A lot of fun. A lot of great stories. And I grew up. I'm old. I'm really old. So I grew up back in the day. So things are a lot different today than they were back then. But yeah, I survived. I'm here.
Amazing. What was this early job you did while you were growing up and before you start doing what you do now?
So yeah, just lots of different things. Some of my things that I loved growing up. Music was one of my favorite things growing up. I've
Wow.
been playing music since I was a little boy,
Wow.
so it's opened a lot of doors for me. And I like being around creative people, people who do creative things, right? And music's a good example of that. So.
Amazing. What first drew you into podcasting and how did that shape your life?
I got into podcasting because I was doing music. I was doing editing and recording and working with musicians and bands, doing editing for that. And then people were asking me to help them edit their podcast. So I started doing that, helping them behind the scenes because nobody likes to edit. Everyone hates
Yeah.
that part. So I'm like, well, I'll do it because I like it and I have all the equipment. And then I'm like, wait, I want to do my own show. And that quickly became 2 shows, 3 shows. Now I have 9 different podcasts that I do. So I talk a lot on my shows.
Wow.
So
That's
it's a lot
pretty
of fun.
amazing. Having night, it a lot. How are you able to kind of jungle between each of them and still sustain the energy for what you do?
It's sometimes I'll have a guest on my show and I will introduce the wrong podcast. And my guest will be like, "What? I'm not on. What show are we doing?" Yeah, so I have to remember that I'm on the right show. So yeah, I have a little note under my monitor so I remember which podcast that I'm talking to right now. But it's a lot of fun. I've got to over 2,000 episodes combined
Oh,
across all
wow.
the different shows, and one of my shows alone, I talk to probably 10 to 12 people a week, interviewing and pre-interviewing just for one podcast, and I still have 8 other shows.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun. You get to meet great people like you.
Yeah.
Come on, like this is awesome.
Amazing. So how has our podcast shaped your life over time, doing podcasts every now and then?
I get to meet great people around the world. That's definitely shaped my
Yeah.
life. I am a better listener when people are talking.
Yeah.
In the early days when I first started podcasting, I would ask my guest a question. They would be answering the question. They're not done. They're still answering. And I would then ask another question. And then they're like, now I have 2 questions to answer. And my audience said, Dave, just let them answer the first question before you ask the second question, which meant I had to sit and listen to my
Yeah.
guest. And that was a great learning. And I'm married. I've been married 32 years.
Wow.
I'm pretty
Wow.
old. We just had our anniversary. And the listening that I do on podcasts as a host and as a guest, I take that to my marriage with my wife, and now I listen better at home. So it's got some good bonuses as well when you listen better, right?
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. So how did becoming an emptiness that influence the way you show up as a podcaster?
Oh, okay. Well, I have more time. That's one of the big things. I have 3 adult children. They're all gone out of the
Yeah.
house. So now I have some more time to do the things that I want to do, which is fun. But I think as an empty nester, I think I like to work with people who are younger than me,
Hmm.
who are maybe struggling or need help, and be a support for people, right? Because I have time.
Yeah.
So whether it's editing, whether it's coaching, whether it's just being an online friend for people, I just want to be that person that's there to encourage them to share their story. So if I can do that with the time I have surrounded by busy people with
Yeah.
young families and not a lot of time. If I can be a help to them, then that's what I want to do.
Wow, this is really lovely and really encouraging. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah.
Um, so what make a podcast community feel safe and thrive?
I think again, letting people be heard, um, being somewhere where people feel accountable, so they can't hide, right? They can't hide in the background. You got to bring them out and get them to talk. I built a small community over on Meetup. It's a website where we can have our meetups and our scheduled out events where we can get together, and doing that for 2 years. And the meetups have been great. We get to help each other, right? And we get to, it's not all about Dave. That's the big thing for community. It's about the community. It's about everybody having a voice, and people aren't just listening, but they're actively participating. I think that makes a good community when everybody feels safe, when they feel like they're being heard, and there's respect for each other. That's really key important parts of a community.
Wow, people being heard, people being safe. Wow, wow, this is really amazing.
Right?
Yeah. So how did you decide whether a podcast should be solo, co-host, or
Mm.
interview based? How did you actually get to decide?
So I do all those. That's what I do. Each of my shows are different. Some are solo hosted, some are guest co-hosts where people come in.
Yeah.
Some are interview. Some are a combination of all of those things. So that's kind of why I have so many podcasts, 9 different shows. I get to try 9 different
Wow.
ways to do everything, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think that gives me the ability to try things, and then to also then help other people to find what's the best way for you. So if you love if you love talking to people
Yeah.
and asking questions, interview's great. It's really, really great. You get to
Yeah.
meet great people, right? And other people help you make your content. So you're not making it by yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm a shy, quiet person, really. Not when I'm podcasting. I'm not the type of guy that likes to talk to a lot of people in a big room. That's not who I am. I'm not that type of person. So doing podcasting makes me a little uncomfortable because now I have to talk to
Yeah.
people when I don't normally want to talk to people. So interviewing's great, but if you are an expert in something, or you're passionate about something and you could talk about it for days and days and days, you don't really need to have an interview. You could just do a solo
Yeah.
podcast and share your own thoughts. And the beauty of having your own solo podcast is people connect with you as a listener, and they love to come and listen to you. I'll give you an example. I have my How to Podcast series where I teach podcasting. Okay, on that show, I have guest co-hosts who come in once in a while, and then I do solo episodes. So I do both in the same show. On my solo episodes, I had someone reach out to me and said, "Dave, I listened to your show about how to podcast, but I'm not going to start a podcast." And I'm like, well, why are you listening to my show? Because I'm teaching you how to podcast, right? And they said, I don't want to start a podcast. I listen to your show because I like your voice, and I like that you show up every week. You're
Wow.
just part of my routine. I know that when I take my phone and look at it, you're going to be there.
Hmm.
So you could talk about anything you want. I would listen to you talk about anything. But the fact that you keep showing up, I feel like I know you as a listener of your show. And I'll keep showing up as long as you keep talking. And I'm like,
Wow.
they're not even listening for the content. They're never going to start a show, right?
Yeah.
So I do all this work to make this great podcast episode, and it doesn't matter to that person. They just want me to show up. And I think that's the one thing that podcasters don't understand right away is you're going to build a relationship with people
Yeah.
where you having an episode that comes out on a regular basis, whatever that is, people will start to add you to their life. And when they add you to their life, they feel connected to you, even though they've never met you.
Yeah.
All I have is your voice. All I have is the video, whatever. But they start to build their world around you. And that's the most beautiful thing about podcasting is I get to have time with people. And that's the best thing ever. So
Wow.
yeah, I love it.
Wow. Amazing. This is really encouraging. Really lovely to hear from you too. So, what role does music play in your creative life and in being a creative and that of podcast life?
It's everything for me. Anytime that I can be around people who inspire me and who encourage me by how they show up in this world, no matter what it is for them. So for me, music is a big thing for me. Podcasting is a big thing for me. But if I get around somebody who's an artist or they're an author or they're a creative person, all of those things really help me to be inspired. And I think the more you're around people who do good things, the more it kind of just sits with you and you want to
Yeah,
do good things, right? So surround yourself with people who are either ahead of you, who know more than you do, or inspire you. My author podcast that I host, it's called Living the Next Chapter. I'm the host of the podcast, and I'm not an author. I've never written a book before, but I
Ouch.
have 600 episodes with authors from around the world who have done what I haven't done. And I just love talking to them. And I get to meet like super amazing people from 5-year-old author to 89-year-old
Wow.
author. I get people who serve in the military. I had a US judge. I've had people from Hollywood and movies and TV, musicians come on my show who write, and I get time with them and they want to talk to me, and even though I'm not an author.
Yeah.
So create the thing you're interested in, and I think then people will find you and then they'll fall in love with what you do.
Wow, this is really amazing. And I think just hearing you analyzing, it just dawned on me that that was the reason why I actually started my podcast. It was the fact that I
Great.
was so much interested in entrepreneurship and I want to hear stories of how people started out, how most times, being that their childhood could actually speak volume. Listening to the story alone is very lovely and every moment simply count and I don't even want it to end.
I love it. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing your podcast?
My podcast, I think, is about 3 months now, and I've done close to 40 episodes.
Amazing. What do you love about podcasting? I'd love to hear your thought.
Okay, what I love about podcasting is basically just hearing people share their stories about childhood struggles and the fact that they were able to make ends meet, or they were able to put in the work, they were being patient. Hearing those stories sometimes just for possibility of what is possible, even if when you are starting out, there is nothing that seems. It's as though more like when you are starting out, there's no possibility of anything could come out. But just hearing stories of some worst cases leave me inspired with kind of wow, if Michael can do it, I can do it too. My audience can do it too. So hearing it every now and then, it's really amazing.
I like it. I like it. How big? How important is podcasting in your country? Like from a listener, from your listeners, do people love listening to podcasts where you are? I'm really curious.
Yeah, I think in the meantime there is not much listening when it comes to podcasting, but I think it's not something that started very early here in Nigeria, but
Mhm.
it's already gaining traction. People are already listening these days, and in fact, I think with time now, I'm already more like scouting out, reaching out to those who are entrepreneurs, who are just doing their things, who doesn't have tools for podcasting. I'm already more like figuring it out, going to their shop, just interview them on a broad daylight, how they get started, their struggles, how they gain internship, and every of these particular stories. I'm actually more like looking forward to doing that, and I know definitely I'm still going to get more audience from that end.
Yeah, I don't want to take over your show, but one thing I want to say is I love your energy. I love that a younger person, I'm old, a younger person is loving podcasting. You have a long journey
Yeah,
ahead of you and you're going to meet some great people. So I'm really excited to have time with you. This is great.
yeah. Thank you so much, Dave. So more like, what are the key ingredients that make podcasts engaging and memorable?
I think having a love for what you talk about and a love for your audience, one of the things that I really focus on is what is the number of people, listeners, that I will show up for?
Hmm.
What is that minimum number of people that I will go and record another episode? And I ask people this because people want to get many listeners, and I want everyone to have many listeners. But what's the smallest number you would record an episode for? Completely truthful, I would podcast for one person
Hmm.
because if one person listens to my show and has a change in their life or finds hope or encouragement or companionship or whatever, and then they go home and then they treat their family better, they treat their children better, their parents better, they find that job or that opportunity because they heard something on my show which helped them to be better mentally, right, or physically healthier, then I would show up for one person if I could only impact one person. And here I am talking to somebody in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like, that's the power of podcasting, right? Is there is such, the world is so small because of a microphone and some
Yeah.
headphones. You and I can do this together. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave. So, how do we keep listener involved and make them feel part of the journey?
I like to have people call into the show. So there's a free
Oh,
website called SpeakPipe, SpeakPipe.com, speakpipe.com, and people can leave you a free voice message.
oh,
So I can call in and I can go to this website and I can go to your link. I can click on the link and I can record a voice message, which goes straight to you.
wow.
And you can then take that message and put it into the podcast. So you could ask your audience a question. What's your favorite book? And your audience can respond on speakpipe.com and leave you a voice message saying, hello, this is David from Canada. My favorite book is Fans First by Jesse Cole. And then I could leave you that voice message.
Wow.
And you would get it in an email. It'll come to you and it'll be a voice message from Dave. And
Wow.
now you can take that message and put it in your show. So having that kind of contact where you ask a question and your audience responds, really, really good. So
Wow.
that's one thing. Create a way for people to talk to you, right?
Wow. Wow. This is really amazing. I think I'm going to adopt this. Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. So you have supported many podcasts, and as an editor and mentor, what is the most common mistake you see beginners make?
I think they try to be perfect.
Hmm.
They try to do, and I want people to do well,
Yeah.
but I don't think you need to be perfect. You don't have to have the perfect microphone, headphones, camera. No. You need to have a love for people because you're going to connect with people. Your love for people has to even be a little bit more important than what you talk about.
Hmm.
Because if people aren't listening, there's no real reason to podcast, right? So you want to connect with those people. So you need to know who you're talking to. And if you don't know that, then it's very hard to prepare what you want to talk about. So the first thing is to figure out who's listening to the show. Who do I want to help through my podcast? It might just be to make them laugh. And it's just a podcast to be funny, which would make people's day if they're having a bad
Yeah.
day. So who is that person? And how can I make the best possible thing for them that I can? When my kids were little, I knew what they liked to eat. So I would make the food that they liked to eat because then they would eat it. I wouldn't make food they didn't like
Yeah.
because then they wouldn't eat it. So I knew my audience, being my children, and I knew what they liked. So I went and created the food that they liked. Same thing for podcasting. You have to know who it is. You have to know what they like, and then you can go make it. You can't make something and then
Yeah.
try to find somebody to feed them, right? You need to find out who they are, what they like, and then you go make the food.
Wow, this is really, really amazing. Is the fact that knowing who your audience is and then seeing the podcast as a means to that particular end. And I think when you actually make reference of perfection, when I started out, I have a whole lot of issues on how do I do it. I need to get it perfect before I start. But there was this particular quote that actually just helped me. It was more like let it first exist, then you can make it better. So
Right.
once I just have it, I was like, wow, let me get started first. Then every other thing we can actually change it and make it better along the way. And just hearing you make reference of it just speak volume. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how has podcasting helped you grow personally beyond the microphone?
I think I have more confidence. I think I have, again, I said, like I mentioned, better listening. I think that's really, really important. And I think I see the world differently than
Hmm.
I did before podcasting. Um, by having all these conversations with people around the world, again, I'm talking to you in
Yeah.
Nigeria. This is just crazy. By having these conversations, my world is different.
Mm.
I get to see things beyond my country, in Canada and my where I live. I get a worldview that's bigger and better than I would have ever had on my own because I have time with people
Yeah.
like you. I think that's the beautiful thing about podcasting is we really get to build a community, and I'm on this mission in life. My goal is to collect people. Some people like to collect money and cars and things. I want to collect people. That's my goal. I want to connect with as many people as possible because my life will be better for it. And hopefully I have something to give to somebody else in the same time.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. So, how do you stay motivated when episodes don't perform the way you expected?
Again, let's go back. Who would I podcast for? How many people? And if I got one person to listen to my show, that's enough for me.
Mm.
And it seems odd because everybody wants many, many listeners. And I want many, many listeners. But if I look at my information and my stats and I have one listen, I don't see that as a failure. I reached my target, one. And by building that person, the next thing I want to do is not only see the one listen, I want to talk to that person. So I'm going to see that I have a listener in Nigeria. I'm going to try whatever I can do to talk to that listener in Nigeria. It's going to be hard to find them, but I'm going to talk to them on the show and say, hey, I have a listener in Nigeria. Thank you for listening. I see you. I would love to talk to you. Here's my speak pipe. Leave me a message. I want to talk to you. Right. I'm gonna do my best to find that person just because I wanna meet them. And I think that's the power of podcasting too.
Wow. Amazing. I think this is really lovely just hearing you make reference of it. Because I think before now, there was one particular program and I attended, and the speaker was making reference of when doing podcasting or when doing anything that involve having views, having listener. Sometimes not to get disappointed, it's just having more like an audience of one, figuring it out that all you need is just audience of one. Once at the end of the day, what you do actually bless someone and it leave them lifted, it leave them motivated to go about do what they couldn't do before. That for me, it was really, really amazing. And I just thought, wow, an audience of one. If there are more than that, great.
Right. Yeah. So here in Canada, one of the things I love eating is I love an apple. Okay, the fruits, apple, and in an apple, when you cut an apple in half,
Yeah,
you'll see apple seeds
yeah,
inside. They're the seeds inside the
yeah.
apple, right? You can count the number of seeds inside an apple. You can take them out, one, two, three. But what you can't do is you can't count the number of apples in one seed.
Mm,
So when you plant that seed in the ground and it
yeah,
turns into a tree, which makes fruit,
yeah,
you don't know how many fruit are going to come from that tree, right?
yeah.
So that one seed, that one listener, you don't know what the potential is of that one listener, right?
Wow, amazing.
I can count them. I have one, but they could turn into
Yeah,
whatever, right? So, yeah, you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed. I love
yeah,
that quote.
yeah. Thank you. Can you share a time when podcasting opened door that you never imagined?
Um, I have the opportunity to speak to people and groups online and doing things that I would never have the opportunity
Ooh,
to do otherwise, right? So, I think both of us, we met through Podmatch,
yeah.
and Podmatch has an event they do every quarter, so 4 times a year.
Oh,
They get together and they do like an online event. So I spoke at one of the recent online events,
ooh,
and it was so great to be in a room with, at that point, I think there was over 100 people there, and talk about podcasting. And I talked about that Appleseed thing that we just talked about.
yeah.
And this, I got a comment from somebody who was there, and they said that while they were watching it, they were crying. And I'm like, because in that moment they were just caught up with the
Yeah.
story, and they were frustrated, and they found that was hope for them. So there you go, right? You just never know who's listening.
Wow, amazing, amazing. How do you balance building community on platform like Meetup versus traditional social media?
Okay, so traditional social media is good, but what I find is not everyone on social media even knows what a podcast is.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get them to leave social media to come to podcasting,
So true.
right? It's hard for them to say no Instagram, no TikTok, no
Yeah.
Facebook, whatever. Now you got to come with me somewhere different. That's hard to do. So Meetup is good, but I find that the best place to find podcast listeners is on a podcast. So the fact that somebody's going to listen to this, hear my voice on your amazing show for the first time, maybe someone will come and check out my shows. And someone's going to hear you on my show one day as well, right? So that's the beautiful thing is we get in front of other people's audiences and we help each other in podcasting. And I think that's unique in podcasting. You're not going to see that on social media.
Yeah.
Two people working together to build Instagram, not so much, but you will in podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for that. What advice would you give to a parent transiting into emptiness life who is also thinking of creating content?
Hmm. Okay. Um, before your kids leave the house, pour your everything into them. That's the one thing that I wish I did more is recognize that time is short
Hmm.
when you have your kids at home. They leave quickly, and then when they leave and they're gone. So spend as much time with your kids as they're growing up as possible because those days are limited. So please
Hmm.
be aware of that. Um, but I think the one thing I would suggest is leverage the time you have as an empty nester. Realize that you do have extra time now, um, and just start sharing your story because there's somebody listening that could really learn from you. And you might not think your story is
Yeah.
very important, but it is because there's someone who thinks that you are their person. And again, when you keep showing up all the time, they're going to build you into their world and they want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And that's going to come over time, but people will listen and you really will start to influence people and help them to see the world differently. So start writing down all your stories. Start thinking about how you want to do this, whether it's podcasting or whatever, but start planning it now, even while your kids are at home. So when your kids do leave, you're ready to move forward with your dream.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So you often mention the power of story. Can you share a moment where a story truly changed you?
Hmm. I think when somebody's personal story, when they're not afraid to tell the truth about what happened to them. I had a gentleman on my show who told me that a podcast saved his life. And I'm like, okay. And he told me that he got into an argument with his wife, his partner, and he had to leave the house. And he was told that he wasn't worth anything and that he shouldn't be here. And he tried to do something very drastic. And thankfully, it didn't work. He's still here. And he went out to his vehicle the next day. He got into his vehicle, and instead of the radio playing in his vehicle, a podcast played in his vehicle at that moment. And the podcaster was talking right to him. And had that podcaster not created that podcast and put it out there, he wouldn't have heard it. And that podcast episode on someone else's show changed this person's life.
Wow.
And now he changes other people's lives because of a podcast. So
Wow.
I can tell you that podcaster who made that episode that that person listened to had no idea that this guy was going to listen to his show, but he made it
Yeah.
anyway. He might have been having a terrible day that day, the podcaster, and wanted, I don't even want to do this, but he did it anyway. He
Yeah.
put it out, and months later, somebody heard it for the first time.
Wow.
You just never
That's
know.
really amazing. Yeah, thank you. So you have been described as making conversation lively and interesting. What's your secret as a guest?
Be curious. Be very curious. B- look at people and try to figure out how can I make a great conversation with this person? How can I serve them well? How can I listen better? How can I give them space, a safe place
Yeah.
to talk on my show? And I think the big thing is we talk about how you lead a
Yeah.
conversation. I think as the host, you have to go through, you have to initiate, you have to be the one to go first. So
Yeah.
you have to be an honest person as the host if you want your guest to be an honest person.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like going through the door, right? So you have a door at your home. You go through the door first
Yeah.
as the host, and then your guests will follow. Don't make the guest go through the door first and then you follow. You go first. So you tell your story. You be open and honest and real and safe. And then your guests will do the same. So you have to lead.
Wow. Amazing.
And you're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it, by the way. So good job. Good job.
Thank you so much, Dave. If someone listening feel like their voice doesn't matter, what will you say to them?
Hmm. Why do you feel like that? Why do you feel like your voice doesn't matter? Because I can tell you it does. Of all of the people in the world, and I wish everyone could do this and
Yeah.
everyone could get up and speak and do a podcast or whatever. Not everybody's going to do this. So that means there's only limited amount of people who will ever start a podcast. That means there's an unlimited number of people who could listen. So just the fact that you have an idea means that you're different. And I think your voice matters because nobody else has lived your life.
Yeah.
No one else has read the books, gone to school, lived where you've lived. I haven't lived in Nigeria. I can't
Yeah.
do your show, right? There's no way I could do your show. So everybody's different and unique. So lean into what makes you different and celebrate that.
Mm.
You're very special as a person listening to this. You're very special, and there's no one else who can do what you do. So be strong in that because people need to hear your voice. I want to know what you think. I want to know how you feel, and I want to know your story because it might help me with my story. So share your story.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Wow. Everyone is different. Lean on your stories. Wow.
Great.
Thank you so much, Dave. This is really, really amazing. So if you were to leave my audience with a final word, what will it be?
Oh, what would I like to? Okay. I would just say to you as you listen, first of all, support this show,
Ooh,
support this amazing podcaster. When you listen to this show,
thank
I
you.
know that this podcaster would love to hear from you. So
Yeah.
wherever you're listening, there's probably a way to connect. So like for me, I'm listening on Spotify. I can go in the episode and I can leave a comment right in the episode. And it goes right to the host. You can also reach out through website, email, social media. I'm sure there's a way to connect with this podcast. Do it. Leave a review, leave a rating, tell people about this show. That's what you can do to encourage this
Wow.
amazing podcast. And what I would suggest then is also then tell somebody about this show because your recommendation to somebody else, when you hear something that you love, tell somebody, tell someone. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. When you tell somebody, I listened to this podcast and this guy from Canada was on this show and he's very weird, but I liked it. Tell people about it so
Yeah.
people will come and hear this, right? That's what I would love everybody to do as you listen to this. That's more important to me than coming to my website or listening to my show. Support this show because that's where you are right now. So do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave. This really means a whole lot to me. So how can my audience connect with you, get to listen to you more? What platform can they reach out to you?
Only come to me if you support this podcast
Uh,
first. First thing, only come to me after, not before. So that's what I'm going to ask everyone to do. After you've done all of the things we talked about to support this show, if you have time, how to podcast, really simple, how to podcast dot ca, because I'm in Canada, how to podcast.ca. Come and see me. I'd love to chat, but only after you support this show first.
David, thank you for sharing your heart, your stories, and your wisdom. from parenting and music to podcasting and community building. You have reminded us that our words and stories truly matters. So, my listener, you can find David podcast and connect with him at truemediasolution.ca. The link is going to be on the show notes. Until next time, remember, your story has power and the world needs to hear it. Once again, it's a pleasure having you on the show, Dave.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Great job.
yeah.